How's it going, guys? We're back at it again with another video. My name's Derek, DIY Homestead Projects, and what I want to talk about in today's video is a question that I think is a very interesting question. And what is the purpose of living off-grid, or what is the purpose of homesteading? So those are two words that you definitely hear in this community quite a bit. Off-grid, like living off-grid, or homesteading. So let's first start off with what is the definition of each of those words, because they are slightly different. But I think the premise behind both of the words is pretty much the same. So off-grid means that your house or your structure that you live in is completely autonomous from basically any type of electrical grid, municipal water, city sewer, and also natural gas. That would constitute a house that is off-grid. It basically does not rely on any type of public utility. And I think probably the fifth utility that would be considered on-grid would be a garbage service. So we don't rely on any of the public utilities other than that we do have a garbage pickup. I haven't really come up with a better solution to getting rid of our garbage other than incinerating it. So for now, we're just going to use the garbage service. But other than that, we're not hooked up to our public utilities. So all of our electrical needs are fulfilled by the solar panels behind me. The vast majority of the water that we need is harvested by this, I call it the rain roof, but it's just essentially a really good roof catchment surface that we built on the ground here. So then the rainwater from the roof is then stored in the poly tanks behind me. And we also have two culvert cisterns which store water that is captured from the tiny house roof and also the shed roof. So in order to eliminate using the sewer system or even a septic system is basically we have a composting toilet in our tiny house. We then take the our excrement or feces or whatever you want to call it, our poop, it goes into our compost here. So then the water that comes from our shower and that comes from our sink and that also comes from our washing machine, well, the water from the washing machine doesn't come specifically here. It waters the mulberry tree there, but we basically recycle or repurpose that gray water, and it basically grows trees in our yard that are going to provide us with some food in the future. And the way that I designed the tiny house and basically what's going on in our shed is so that we don't need any natural gas to heat our water or to cook with. So everything in the tiny house, everything out here is just powered by electricity. So we're autonomous from natural gas. So then what is the difference between living off-grid and homesteading? So living off-grid simply just means you're autonomous from the public utilities. Homesteading, it's a little bit different because your homestead could be connected to the grid. And homesteading has more of a focus on specifically like producing and growing the vast majority of the food that you consume, and also preserving and canning that food as well so that you have it throughout the year. It could also mean that you're more focused on maybe like building your own furniture. Instead of going out and buying furniture, you learn how to build it yourself. So you're becoming much more self-sufficient in that way. It could be sewing your own clothes as well. That could be another form of homesteading. But homesteading seems to have a little bit more focus on maybe the DIY aspect of living. So becoming self-sufficient in that way there. So that's how I would differentiate between living off-grid and homesteading. The premise behind both of them is essentially the same, and that's moving towards a much more self-sufficient lifestyle. You can obviously implement different aspects from living off-grid and from homesteading. You don't have to be like completely fully off-grid in order to be like a better person or anything like that. You can basically just basically the idea is to do your best. So to move towards more of an off-grid lifestyle, if it's financially feasible or just feasible in general for where you're at, but also with homesteading, growing a lot of our own food, and also trying to become healthier because of that. So then what is the reason, or what is the purpose behind choosing this lifestyle? And I think everybody is going to have, I think all the reasons are certainly valid, but some people might place more importance on certain aspects of it. Like the aspect that I really love about this off-grid homesteading lifestyle is self-sufficiency. So for me, I love, and I've always loved, even since I was a young guy, a young kid, I love doing things myself. I've always loved building stuff as a kid. So coming out here and learning how to do so many different things. Like I I built the vast majority of the tiny house that's right behind me. I wired up our solar system. I set up our rainwater harvesting system. I built the fence, plus all the other numerous gardening projects and rainwater harvesting projects that we've done. And I've really enjoyed that aspect of it, is learning how all these systems work, doing it myself. And what I like about it is that if any of these systems fail for whatever reason, say our solar system, maybe one of the battery modules or the inverter, it just craps out on us. Kind of the burden of responsibility of who's going to fix it is pretty well on me. And a lot of people might be frightened by that, but I kind of like it. I like doing things myself and learning how things work, as opposed to always having to be dependent on other people. If you make the choice, for example, that you want to build your own house and you want to create an off-grid homestead, you're going to have to learn a lot of things, and you're going to have to grow and expand as a person. So like the person that I was, let's say a year and a half ago, before I started building the tiny house, up until now, in terms of my experience and my skills, like they've grown significantly over that time. I've learned so many different valuable skills that basically I can do a lot of things myself, as opposed to hiring a company to do them for me. And I think that's really powerful, is because we can become more effective people, learn a lot more skills that that we're not really necessarily aware of. But for me, there comes a point where there's certain things that I don't really even have any desire to learn. For example, with our car, we have to go get oil changes periodically in order to keep up the maintenance on it. Even though I know I could do an oil change on the car, like it's not a crazy hard concept, I'd much rather pay a local company in order to do that. So that's one of the main reasons why I gravitate towards off-grid homesteading. Another really good reason why a lot of people move into this direction is they want to improve their health. So living out here, you don't have to live on a big, parcel of land, but you could live on a much smaller acreage as well, is that you're typically going to be outside more. And if you don't, obviously, if your piece of land isn't directly like in a city, you're going to be breathing a lot more fresh air. If you're going to be growing a lot of your own food, you're going to be getting a lot better nutrition through your food. And you're going to be much more active as well, because you're going to be getting outside, you're going to be gardening, you're going to be doing projects. So it's going to improve the overall health of your body. And another really cool aspect of off-grid homesteading is building community. So specifically, since we've been out here, we've only been out here not even a year yet. So we moved out here December 1st, 2016. And during that time, with everything that we've obviously posted to social media and how we've talked about this area, a lot of people are really interested in moving into this area. And I think one of the major reasons is because it does allow people who want to build some type of alternative style home, like an earthship, earth bag house, cob house, etc., etc. It allows them that opportunity to build it out here. And that's one reason why we chose this area. But what's really cool about that is if we start getting a lot of people that obviously share some of our desire to live this kind of off-grid homesteading lifestyle, is that we're going to have lots of friends in the area. And what's really nice with having that community is obviously like having friends and people that you connect with who live close by. Like that's obviously something that's awesome, so that you don't feel so isolated. But what I really think is cool is that if someone's going to be moving out here, I can go and help them out. It's nice that I have the tractor now. I also have a number of different skills, like with doing electrical work, even something like doing fencing. Like even though I'm not a pro fencer, I could certainly help with fencing. So it's nice to be able to help other people, and in turn, down the road, they're probably going to help you out as well if you ever need any help. So another cool aspect about a self-sufficient lifestyle is that you're going to start thinking more, how are you going to be self-sufficient with the money that you make? So I know if you're going to move out into an area specifically where we live, there's not like a huge amount of job opportunities. So I think you're going to be much more resourceful and creative with how you're going to be earning money. And that might take a number of different forms. With the power of the internet, it's never been easier to basically set up a shop and make money online. Now, getting yourself to a point where you're basically able to do that full time, that might take some time, but it's never been easier to do that. It could mean that you want to pursue a passion. For example, I know there's a gentleman in Alberta, Canada. I can't remember his name off the top of my head, but he has a YouTube channel just about making knives. And that's what he does. He learned how to make knives, and I believe he makes custom knives, and obviously he has his YouTube channel. But that's really his main focus. So instead of thinking, I just have to work at a job, he basically created a business for himself where he's able to support himself and his family through that. So if you're going to be moving to this lifestyle, you're probably going to start thinking a lot more about how you can make money, and specifically doing it from something that you're passionate about and something that you enjoy. And what's also really cool about this lifestyle is that it's not a necessity, but I would say it's something, it's a goal that you should have, is that you want to do this completely debt-free so you're not a slave to the banks. I don't think that we could have even gotten a loan for the tiny house or gotten a loan for the solar system. When you kind of go in this direction, I think Bob and Karen are a perfect example, because I know some of you might be like, well, you and Hannah can do it because you do well and you're successful. Bob and Karen specifically, I know they don't make a lot of money because they've kind of told me how much they make. And they were still able to, in their mid-50s, I think Karen's actually 60 now, they were able to build their own house, get their own septic system, their own well, their own solar system, but they were able to do that in Bisbee, Arizona. They both basically work for themselves, so they don't have a quote-unquote job that they go to. They just provide different services in Bisbee. So I think the last major reason and why a lot of people gravitate towards this lifestyle is for the environmental benefits. Now, I'm not a doomsday prepper kind of person. I don't think the world's going to end anytime soon. I think that is the people that do kind of get into that mindset. I think it's more so like you're living in fear all the time. Fear as if the world's going to end and it's going to be this crazy civil war and you're not going to have any food. And I don't think that is really going to happen anytime soon, if it ever does happen. So I don't really kind of buy into that. What I think about in terms of environmental benefits is living much more in harmony with your surroundings. I think that's an important aspect of an off-grid homesteading lifestyle, is that we're much more conscious about a lot of different things. So thinking about obviously how much water we're going to be using, what we put in the water, because the water is going to be going back into the landscape. Thinking about really kind of building this area up with more foliage, more green, basically focusing on permaculture and being good stewards of the land and not really destroying it, but trying to build it up and be better. So yeah, really becoming in harmony with what's the things that are happening around us. And I think that it's just so liberating that we have basically the technology and the education in order to do so many of these things ourselves now, whereas in the past it probably would have been much more difficult to do this. But I think it's so worth it. Living out here is it's really awesome. Like, we can just sit out here, enjoy ourselves. There's so much peace and quiet. There's not really anyone, bothering us or anything like that. And I think it's a really cool way to live. And at the very least, I think you should just start taking on new projects that you do yourself, as opposed to always thinking that you always have to hire somebody to do it or somebody else has to do it for you. And once you start to learn one skill, or you start to take on one project and you figure it out and you complete it and you get a good end result, it really starts to build your confidence in you to take upon new projects and new endeavors in your life. Awesome, guys. And if you want any help with any projects that you're going to be taking on, definitely join my Facebook group. I'll leave a link to it in the description box below and also in the comment section there. Join up. If you have any questions, leave them in there, because if you leave them in the comment box below the video, I could answer it, but the thing is, only probably you're going to see that answer. Maybe a few other people will, but if it's in our Facebook group, then a lot more people are probably going to see it. So it's going to benefit a lot more people. Awesome, guys. Thanks so much for watching. Catch you on the next video. Talk to you soon.